This was a farm called Dietz Grove. It was a big meeting place. On July 4th, 1913, 1,500 people attended what was called the Socialist Picnic right here in Indianapolis. And the guest of honor and the main speaker was Mother Jones. She had just gotten out of prison in Charleston, West Virginia. She spent 3 months. She was organizing coal miners, and they threw her in jail for what they called agitating. As soon as she got out of prison, she came here to Indianapolis and spoke and got the crowd fired up. Since it was 107 years ago today, and today is the 4th of July, I decided I'd get up and I came out here. It's 6:45 a.m. I figured I'd come sing some songs for you guys and remember Mother Jones. So happy 4th of July, and I hope you enjoy the music. If you decide to throw something in the tip bucket down below, I won't be mad at you, and I promise not to spend it on fireworks. Happy 4th of July, folks.
One day our whispers will be louder than your screams. One day our whispers will be louder than your screams. One day our whispers will be louder than your screams. The people's day will come. Yeah, I'm a Goldman, I sing this song for you. Big Bill Haywood and Mother Jones too. Sacco and Vanzetti, they took your lives, but we can organize. One day our whispers will be louder than your screams. One day our whispers will be louder than your screams. One day our whispers will be louder than your screams. The people's day will come. Medgar Rivers, I sing this song for you. Cesar Chavez and Hobby Milk too. Mahatma Gandhi and Eye for an Eye has left the world blind. One day our whispers will be louder than your screams. One day our whispers will be louder than your screams. One day our whispers will be louder than your screams. The people's day will come. Yeah, the people's day will come. There's songs that the cows and the rabbits sing. There's songs you remember from your childhood days. There's songs that travel across the wind, till your knees grow weary and your head goes dim. I learned that song when I was just a kid, and I carried it with me, but I kept it hid. Like the smell of switchgrass after the rain. Too young to know better and too old to change. Whoa, survival, whoa, survival is like a wheel that never turns. Whoa, survival, whoa, survival, waiting on the words. There's a joy that some men will never know, like setting fire to a billboard and watching the glow, as the wind blows through you and feeds a flame. Too young to know better and too old to change. Whoa, survival, Whoa, survival is like a wheel that never turns. Whoa, survival. Whoa, survival. Waiting on the woods. Abby laid in his cabin in pain for days. It bled out on his couch and he passed away. His friends threw his body in a pickup truck, drove him out into the desert neath the mesas and ruts, and they dug a hole beneath the Arizona stars, and they covered him up in dirt, rocks, and scars. Set fire to the couch and set it on his grave. Too young to know better and too old to change. Whoa, survival. Whoa, survival is like a wheel that never turns. Whoa, survival. Whoa, survival. Waiting on the woods. There's songs that the cows and the rabbits sing. Here we go. He was almost blind. They say it happens when you've been punched too many times. His hands were stone. He was a bare-knuckle champion in an earlier life. It was hard not to stare at his busted up nose and cauliflower ears when he'd smile at me and say the toughest fighters have their souvenirs. How to carry on when the hardest punch is thrown. Take away the burden from our shoulders. He lived next door. Sometimes he'd get with my father and talk about life. They'd sit on the porch, drinking beer and remembering happier times. I was a child, and I was far too young to ever understand what it meant to have a son who'd been drafted and killed in Vietnam. How to carry on when the hardest punch is thrown. Take away the burden from our shoulders. My father and I, we tried to keep him company so his mind could rest. On Saturday nights, we'd huddle around a black and white TV set. We all stood and cheered when Ollie knocked out Foreman that night in Zaire. And later that night, my father held his hand as they broke down and cried. How to carry on when the hardest punch is thrown. Take away the burden from our shoulders. There stands a wall in the clearing across from the National Mall. It's crowded with names of the thousands of children that never came home. I stood in the rain, watching dozens of mourners stumbling by. When I saw his name, I felt the ghost of our fathers kneeling at my side.
There was a big article in the Indianapolis Star. Everybody was excited. The headline said, "The Angel of the Mines is coming to Indianapolis to speak at the Socialist Picnic." She was hated by people with money. She was known by the rich people of America as the most dangerous woman in America. That was a moniker she held very proudly. And on the Senate floor, she was denounced as being the grandmother of all agitators. How great is that? Mother Jones was a school teacher, a dressmaker, and just an Irish immigrant. And one day she decided she wasn't going to take anymore. Whatever children were working in the mills and factories, you're talking about 10-year-old kids working under horrible conditions, Mother Jones would show up and try to organize them and get the child labor laws enforced. And when she'd show up to picket lines on in the mines and factories, she was always greeted as a hero. When she stood on the stage here in Indianapolis, she said some of her famous quotes. And the newspaper afterwards talked about how she would say to pray for the dead and fight like hell for the living. And she told a story about a 10-year-old kid while she was standing on the stage right here. She told a story about a 10-year-old kid who was thrown in jail because he stole coal, lumps of coal, from the railroad just so his family could keep warm. And she said a 10-year-old kid stealing coal from the railroad will be thrown in jail, but if a rich person steals a railroad from the people, they'll make him a senator. So some things never change.
Listen to me, people, let me speak to your soul. There's more to Memphis than rock and roll, and there's more to history than what we've been told. This is the story of Sputnik Monroe. Sputnik Monroe was a barrel-chested man. He was a brawler and a grappler with an iron chin. He stooped to chicanery if it would help him win. So last guy you want to offend. Thousands of people paid to see him fight at Ellis Auditorium every Monday night. And the white folks booed and the black folks cheered. He drew money everywhere he appeared. Standing on the ground where King stood, standing on the ground where King stood, standing on the ground where King stood, on the right side of history. Late at night you'd see him having a drink in the blues halls and juke joints along Beale Street. It was a place where a white man would never go, but it was home to Sputnik Monroe. When his black friends tried to see him fight, they had to sit in the balcony, though they paid the same price as the whites who sat down along ringside. This was the South in 1959. Standing on the ground where King stood, standing on the ground where King stood, standing on the ground where King stood, on the right side of history. In the pool halls in Memphis, they still talk of the night when Sputnik Monroe refused to fight, until all of the people, be they black or white, could sit together side by side. There's a basic language every promoter speaks, based on beers and hands and asses and seats. The promoters gave in and they drew record crowds, the first a segregated sporting event in the South. Standing on the ground where King stood, standing on the ground where King stood, standing on the ground where King stood, on the right side of history. It might have buggy whip arms or be a peach-faced puke, or a turkey neck afraid to say boo to a goose. But rest assured, even dirtbags like me can be on the right side of history. Standing on the ground where King stood, standing on the ground where King stood, standing on the ground where King stood, on the right side of history, on the right side of history, in Memphis, Tennessee. Listen to me, people, let me speak to your soul. There's more to Memphis than rock and roll, and there's more to history than what we've been told. This is the story of Sputnik Monroe. There's a cold wind blowing through the Silver King mines from Wind Park City, and it's closing time to another dead-end week in a vacant life. People talk about Joe and what went down, and how you can't find justice in a Utah town, so you tip your hat to a stranger, you walk on by, waiting on a chance to shine. Waiting on a chance to shine. In the sidewalks, factories and fields, he found a dust-filled dreamland flat on the ground, waiting on a chance to shine, waiting on a chance to shine. The world is full of lonely fools staring at each other from across the room, wishing they could get up the nerve to speak their minds. But it's hard for a man to stand his ground, locked up in Stag prison and beaten down, watching shadows creep across the walls of sleepless nights, waiting on a chance to shine. Waiting on a chance to shine. Justice is a woman in a rocking chair, combing the tangles from her long black hair, waiting on a chance to shine, waiting on a chance to shine. There's an empty feeling in Sugar House Park, and a memory looks at long after dark as the people try to tell the story of a crooked trial. How the workers could stop all speeding trains to every ship in the ocean with mighty chains, every wheel in God's creation, every mill and mine, waiting on a chance to shine. Waiting on a chance to shine. Every time I dream about better times, I could feel Joe's ashes stirring deep inside. Waiting on a chance to shine. Waiting on a chance to shine. There's a cold wind blowing through the Silver King mines from Wind Park City, and it's closing time to another dead-end week in a vacant life. Grandpa walked the picket line when he was 19. Had a wife and kids back at home to feed. Daddy did the same, it was his turn too. Made things better for me and you. Made things better for me and you. I said it wasn't tough, it wouldn't be true. They were everyday people like me and you. Stood out in the snowfall stood there in the rain and kept it together, and the love remains. Everybody loved Grandpa's homemade wine. He'd been known to do some picking sometime. The sweetest memory out deep inside is him and Grandma singing, "You were my sunshine." Him and Grandma singing, "You were my sunshine." I said it wasn't tough, it wouldn't be true. They were everyday people like me and you. They stood out in the snowfall, they stood there in the rain, and they kept it together, and the love remains. We got to get it together, and the love remains. We got to get it together, and the love remains. We got to get it together, and the love remains.
And thank you guys for listening to me play songs out here. It's starting to get a little bit warm. It's way too early to sing, but I've had a good time. I'm going to go back home and sit in the air conditioning on the 4th of July, maybe sit on the porch. But if you guys decide to throw a little bit in the tip jar, I won't be mad at you. Subscribe, share this with your friends, like, comment. Tell me what you did on the 4th of July. Tell me your story about when Motor Jones came to your town. I'd love to hear it. But anyway, happy 4th of July, everybody. Take care.